Hi, today we are sitting down with Pastor Laura Fry. Laura, what events and influences put you on the path to becoming a pastor, to becoming our pastor?
Well, I was raised in a loving Christian home. Both my mom and dad were people of strong Christian faith. My dad was a pastor, my grandfather was a pastor, and from an early age, my dad was including me in his ministry. He would be invited to go and preach for a nursing home near us, and from just about the time I learned to read, he would take me along to help him greet the residents there and also to serve as his scripture reading assistant. When I was in middle school, though, my dad started to develop some significant health challenges. He had cancer, went through treatment for that, and then he developed Alzheimer's disease. And as you can imagine, for someone in middle, high school, college age, that's a huge impact on our family life. To have him lose so many of those abilities that had helped to make him who he was. And in that time, I really struggled with my own faith, with my sense of, is God real? Can God really love us and allow this kind of thing to happen to our family? It wasn't until I got to college and Parents' Weekend, my freshman year, very much a low point for me, as I was one of the students who did not have family there that weekend. Went to the campus chapel one night, just kind of overwhelmed with realizing the loss in my family. And in that moment, felt God's just overwhelming love for me. That God would never abandon me, that God would never leave me, no matter what else happened in my life. And that was a moment when I think my faith went from being something I had learned from my parents to something that I was going to claim for myself, for my life. And that changed everything for me. It helped me in my relationship with my dad for the last year or two of his life. And also led me to see that I wasn't the only person on my campus who was losing a parent. So I worked with the college chaplain to start a support group for other students with parents who were dying or who had recently died. And that was what first led me to think about going into ministry.
I understand that you have a variety of worship experience with other cultures. Can you share what that's been like for you?
Yes. So mission is part of my spiritual DNA. My grandparents met as missionaries in Sierra Leone, West Africa in 1920, fell in love, came back to the United States, got married. My dad served in mission for 14 years in South Korea after the Korean War, came back to the United States. I was born here, but even in the U.S., my dad was still very active, going to worship services for Korean-speaking congregations in the U.S. I was baptized in a Korean-speaking congregation. And those early memories of worship with people whose language I did not know was powerful for me in terms of my understanding of God and of Christian faith being so much bigger and more wonderful and more rich than my own language and experiences in my own neighborhood. So that really expanded my understanding of God. Also, as a young adult myself, I served in mission with the Presbyterian Church. I spent a year in Northern Ireland working with Protestant and Catholic communities there. Spent a year on the U.S.-Mexico border. Both communities, both the U.S.-Mexico border and Northern Ireland, places where there's a history of division. And so learning about the work of peacemaking, about bringing people together, and about reconciliation. In my own ministry, I find energy connecting with people from different cultures, from different backgrounds, and I love giving people in the congregation the opportunity to experience that richness, that variety, and that beauty too.
You're a pastor, a wife of a pastor, a mother, a daughter, a sister. We as a congregation come to you when we are in need. Who do you go to, other than God, of course?
First of all, I would say I'm so blessed to share life, to share ministry with my husband. Because we're both pastors, we have a unique bond of understanding the joys and the challenges involved in being a pastor. So we're really, that's a primary source of support for me. Second of all, I have a pastor's prayer group that I'm part of. I've been with these 3 other female pastors in this prayer group for 16 years almost. And that constancy of regular meeting, of sharing what's going on for us, praying for each other, has been such an incredible blessing for me. And third, I have a team of people in my life who are my intercessory prayer team. When I have a need, I share that with them. They lift up prayers for me, and that's just another layer of support when I'm going through something in my own life that I know there are others that are there that can pray for and support me in ministry.
What can we, as your congregation, do to help keep you energized as you lead us on our faith journey?
Well, I see God at work here at PPC in so many exciting ways. And so I would say the big thing is to believe with me that we have a future filled with hope. The wider narrative in our culture is of a church in decline all around the country and in many cases the world. But that's not what I see here at PPC. I see God at work. I see vibrant ministry. I see people stepping up into leadership roles, sharing their gifts. I see joy and hope. So believe with me that we have a future filled with hope as we lead in ministry together and find what God is calling us to do and to be.
Thank you, Laura, for sharing your story today.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Please join us next week on Real Pastors of Fairport, New York, as Laura skydives into the Grand Canyon.